The world did not just lose Princess Diana in 1997. It lost innocence, because for millions of people around the world, Princess Diana never felt like royalty. She felt human. The smile, the kindness, the warmth, the vulnerability in her eyes, the way she hugged sick children without fear, the way she comforted strangers, the way she walked toward pain while others walked away from it. For an entire generation, Princess Diana became more than a royal figure. She became emotional hope. But behind the elegance, behind the beauty, behind the palace walls, behind the cameras, behind the fairy tale image the world became obsessed with, there was another story, a deeply painful one. Because while millions of people admired Princess Diana publicly, few people truly understood how emotionally trapped she reportedly felt privately. The loneliness, the betrayal, the pressure, the eating disorder, the media obsession, the emotional isolation, the public humiliation, the fear, the constant surveillance, and the terrifying psychological reality that sometimes the people who look most loved publicly feel the most abandoned privately. For years, Princess Diana lived inside one of the most famous institutions on Earth, and yet, she often reportedly felt completely alone. This is the hidden pain behind Princess Diana. Before the palaces, before the royal titles, before becoming the people's princess, there was England. Diana Spencer was born into British aristocracy. From the outside, her early life appeared privileged, beautiful estates, wealth, status. But emotionally, childhood pain does not disappear simply because luxury surrounds it. Diana's parents reportedly experienced a deeply unhappy marriage. And eventually, their divorce emotionally affected Diana profoundly. Psychologically, children who experience emotional instability early in life often develop powerful fears surrounding abandonment and rejection. And many people later believed those fears followed Diana throughout much of her adult life. Even as a young girl, people reportedly noticed Diana's emotional sensitivity. Shy, compassionate, gentle, emotionally observant. And perhaps that sensitivity later became both her greatest strength and greatest vulnerability. Then came Prince Charles. And suddenly, the entire world changed. At just 19 years old, Diana entered one of the most emotionally overwhelming environments imaginable: the British royal family. The media obsession exploded instantly. Magazine covers, photographers, global headlines, public fascination. The world became obsessed with the shy young woman who would become future queen. But psychologically, few people stopped asking whether Diana herself was emotionally prepared for what was happening to her. Because suddenly, she was no longer simply Diana Spencer. She became a global symbol, a royal fantasy, a media obsession, and one of the most photographed women on Earth. Then came the wedding, July 29th, 1981. Millions watched around the world. The dress, the carriage, the cathedral, the royal spectacle. It looked like a fairy tale. But emotionally, many people later realized something heartbreaking. Fairy tales can become prisons, because behind the cameras, behind the smiles, behind the royal image, Princess Diana reportedly felt increasingly isolated. And perhaps one of the darkest emotional realities surrounding Diana's story was the loneliness of her marriage. Rumors surrounding Prince Charles and Camilla Parker Bowles never fully disappeared. And psychologically, living inside constant emotional uncertainty can slowly destroy someone internally, especially someone emotionally sensitive already struggling with insecurity and public pressure. Over time, Diana reportedly began battling severe emotional pain privately: bulimia, depression, loneliness, self-doubt. And psychologically, eating disorders are often deeply connected to emotional control, because when people feel powerless emotionally, they sometimes try controlling the only thing that still feels controllable: their own bodies. But while Diana struggled privately, the world continued watching publicly. Every outfit became headlines. Every expression became analysis. Every emotional moment became global news. And perhaps that is what made Diana's life psychologically exhausting, because she was never truly allowed to disappear from public attention. Not for one moment. The paparazzi followed her constantly. Outside restaurants, inside cars, outside gyms on vacations to airports, outside her home. And over time, Princess Diana stopped feeling like a human being. She became spectacle. The world consumed her emotionally. And perhaps what made the situation even more tragic was how young she still was while carrying all this pressure. Then came motherhood. And for many people close to Diana, becoming a mother transformed her emotionally. William and Harry reportedly became the emotional center of her life, because inside motherhood, Diana found something the royal system often failed to give her: genuine emotional connection. And perhaps that is why many people remember Diana differently than traditional royalty. She hugged her children publicly. She showed emotion openly. She broke royal emotional distance. Because unlike the institution surrounding her, Diana often appeared deeply human first, royal second. Then came public collapse. The marriage deteriorated publicly. Media pressure intensified. Interviews exploded globally. And perhaps no moment changed public perception more than Diana's famous BBC interview. The world watched Princess Diana speak openly about loneliness, betrayal, depression, bulimia, and emotional suffering. And suddenly, people no longer simply saw royalty. They saw pain. Real pain. For many viewers, the interview felt emotionally shocking, because behind years of glamour and celebrity, there was clearly a woman psychologically exhausted by pressure. And perhaps that interview revealed something deeply uncomfortable about fame itself, because the entire world had watched Diana suffer publicly for years, while often consuming the suffering as entertainment. Then came divorce. And while many people assumed freedom would finally bring Diana peace, the media obsession never stopped. If anything, it intensified. Because now, Princess Diana had become something even larger than royalty itself. She became global emotional mythology. Photographers followed her constantly. Headlines never stopped. Public fascination became endless. And psychologically, living under that level of surveillance changes human beings profoundly, especially emotionally sensitive individuals. Then came August 31st, 1997. Paris. The car crash. And within hours, the world entered collective grief. The news spread globally with terrifying speed. Princess Diana was dead at age 36. People cried openly in streets. Flowers covered palace gates endlessly. Television broadcasts became emotional memorials. Entire countries appeared stunned. Because psychologically, many people felt they had not simply lost a princess. They lost someone who represented kindness itself. And perhaps the deepest tragedy of all was realizing how much emotional pain Diana had carried privately while the world watched her publicly. Because behind the royal image, there was still a vulnerable human being struggling to survive enormous emotional pressure. Today, Princess Diana remains one of the most beloved public figures in modern history. Her compassion became legendary. Her humanity changed royalty forever. Her emotional openness inspired millions. But behind the success story, there is also a darker human story. A lonely young woman thrown into global fame before emotional readiness, a sensitive person psychologically overwhelmed by public obsession, a wife emotionally trapped inside loneliness and betrayal, a mother searching desperately for genuine love and connection, and a human being carrying invisible emotional pain while the world only saw beauty. Because sometimes, the people who appear most admired publicly are suffering most privately. And sometimes, the world destroys gentle people slowly, while calling it fascination. If you enjoyed this documentary, subscribe to Dark Human Stories for more psychological celebrity documentaries, emotional fame stories, hidden struggles behind greatness, and powerful untold human stories. And remember, kindness does not mean someone is free from pain.